Right, it's Tuesday, the 9th of April. It's huge organ, right, corruption. Right, so this is to do with Police Scotland now. Right, regards my diary appointment on the 30th of March, right, 2019, Saturday. Now you see the 6 clowns, right, for Police Scotland arriving, right, obviously to my shock and horror. But it wasn't really, because I had a bet with my partner the night before, stating, I ken how these fucking corrupt cops work, right? And I betted my partner, right, £20, right, that the cops, Police Scotland, were going to be getting people on the phone, whether they were going to turn up for Police Scotland or appear at my door, right, that shouldn't be on the phone to me. So one was Sergeant Faulkner, right, phoning me up, right, because the police hadn't showed up for a diary appointment today with Davy Bissett, right, dangerous driver, right, God knows how many times we've phoned up Police Scotland this year, right, and I'm going to give you an example. Inspector Andy Hull for Haddington Police Station, 2 minutes, 10-second phone call, an inspector shouting down the phone to me and swearing, right, and my partner wanted to speak to him to state how rude he was. Now this call's been recorded. Now Inspector Andy Hull for Police Scotland was reported to Police Scotland 101 for hate crime, because he knows that I've got learning difficulties, right, and just the way he treated me, shouting down the phone, not very professional, but see when he was swearing, right, quite shocked. But this is what happens with these bent fucking corrupt bastards to Davy Bissett, right, and what happens outside my family home, right. So we're away to phone up Sergeant Davy Reilly at Dalkeith Police Station headquarters in Scotland. Now if he doesn't answer the phone, I'm going to phone up Police Scotland 101 regards my diary appointment. Now you hear these police in clown uniforms, right, they state quite clearly, right, that they'll deal with Davy Bissett later. Well, we're sick of complaining about him, right, we've caught Davy Bissett drinking, driving, dangerous driver all the time. The police failed to check Davy Bissett's driving licence, because he never had a driving licence when he killed George Thompson, but see, because he was using the roads outside my family home, right, well they're covered with the Road Traffic Act. See the farm, right, this is what the cops didn't want you guys on YouTube to see, right, the map that I was actually trying to show them for the Scottish Right Away Society, right, and what it is the Scottish Right Away Society. It's a public right away to do with here, right, where George Thompson was killed with Davy Bissett, right. Now look, see, here it is, see, Scottish Right Away Society. Now they state quite clearly, right, and so does Lothian Council, that it's a right away. Now because it's a public right away, Inspector O'Connor, Jocelyn O'Connor for Dalkeith Police Station, right, speaking to her on the 16th and 18th of January in 2018, another fucking bent, corrupt Police Scotland officer, right, well, on the 18th of January, she phones me back, right. Now, this here is a map, right. Now, the Scottish Right Away, I've highlighted this map. This is what I try to show to the police today with Davy Bissett, right. Now, that's my house, and this is the map. So George Thompson was killed here with Davy Bissett, right, never had a driving licence. Davy Bissett knew that he didn't have a driving licence, so did his boss, right, director and owner, right, of the company, right. So cause Davy Bissett killed George Thompson in 2009, corporate homicide laws, that's what they're called in Scotland, right, Act 2007 coming into force April 2008 means that if anybody is killed in a place of work, right, it falls under this act. So Davy Bissett's boss, right, director, owner of this farm site, right, well, he knew that Davy Bissett never had a driving licence, so why did he let him jump in a vehicle, right? Because David Bissett killed his own dog by reversing over the dog and killing him. It states these facts in the fatal death inquiry, right, that we try to show to these Police Scotland officers, but they weren't interested, right? So he reverses over his dog, killing the dog, then he reverses over George Thompson 2 weeks later. Now, I had a meeting with Police Scotland, right, Dalkeith headquarters, right, Sergeant Craig PIRIE, Sergeant Davy Reilly, and they let me record that meeting, right? They also got me an appropriate adult because of my learning difficulties for the council, right, and they got me a CAPS advocate because of my learning difficulties, and what I was doing was I was making criminal allegations against Lothian Borders Police and Police Scotland to do with my signed agreement with the Chief Constable of Scotland about breaching my family's human rights, right, and all my guests, right, because these human rights are actually put into place to protect people, right, and the police have got a duty of care, right, to do this, right, and also that if any police officer takes a statement, right, from myself or anybody else, right, sorry guys, you'll just need to put up that for a second, right, falls under, right, to do with the, if you hang on a second, here it is here, right, this is it, bang, right, so basically what it states here is, here, see it, right, the Police, Public Order and Criminal Justice Scotland Act 2006, Section 34, right, see it here, bang, 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 right, now I've memorised this because I can't read, right, my partner and my daughters have read this out, right, and the way that I learn things, right, is people read out laws or anything else on a dictaphone for me, and I play it about 5 or 6 times and I sink it into my head. So basically, any written or electronic, right, statement that I give to a police officer, whether he was an acting police officer at the time, this is what this law states. So this is where I'm going on my criminal allegations against the police. Right, so let's go for it. Let's phone up Sergeant Davy Reilly. Now, he is making it impossible for me to meet him. Now, we've got a form through for, obviously, PIRIE now, right, regards the Chief Constable of Scotland to do with my ASBO.
Hello, this is Reilly speaking.
Hello, Sergeant, how you doing? It's Jack Pritchard.
How are you?
Not too well, Sergeant.
No? What's wrong with you?
Well, you'd know what's wrong with me.
With that, well, you're the one that's phoned me, I don't know what's...
All right, okay. Right, well, we're just going to get straight to it, Sergeant. Right, you've been emailed by Police Scotland on numerous occasions. I've now got my forms through for PIRIE, right, to do with the Scottish Police Authority, right, to do with this fit-up ASBO, right, and because I've spoken to PIRIE, your Chief Constable signed that, so it's an agreement and it's a contract, so everything in the ASBO is totally false. So see under Article 6 of my human rights, right, well, I'd be entitled to a fair trial. So that means that people that make up false allegations against me, I've got a defence to obviously know what these accusations are, which I do. But see if your police, Sergeant, Police Scotland, never came near me, neither did the council, right? So does that mean that anybody obviously can make allegations about people, but Police Scotland or the council don't approach you to see if these allegations are true? Now, I brought up the council's policies to do with antisocial behaviour policy and how they worked with you in a recorded call. That would be correct, Sergeant, would it?
What one was that, sorry? The conversation with...
Well, I had a recorded call with you to do with the antisocial behaviour policy on how it worked, right, with East Lothian Council.
I've had a few conversations this time. What day would that be?
Well, I've got the recordings on that, right, so what...
Well, it's fine if you tell me that you've got...
Right, okay, right, well, what I'm on the phone about is your police arriving at my door in force, right, on the 30th of March 2019. Myself and my partner had a diary appointment, right, to do with Davy Bissett, who's killed George Thompson on this farm already. Now, because we had a meeting on the 21st of November 2018, right, in that meeting, you let me record that, and you've got me an appropriate adult, and you've also got me a CAPS advocate. Now, you let me record that meeting. So my criminal allegations were that Lothian Borders Police had a duty of care, right, in protecting George Thompson, right, and he got killed today with Davy Bissett. Now, Inspector Jocelyn O'Connor has already confirmed that the Road Traffic Act Laws Act on that farm. We're speaking to Inspector Richard Latto. I've got that recorded. Right, so you've terminated my meeting. You've let me record it. You tell me on the 7th of December that you did not terminate that meeting. That's what you stated. Excuse me, Sergeant, I was at the hospital. My daughter was extremely ill, right, and she was getting lumbar punctures to release pressure, right, off her brain. I spoke to you, and you tell me in that recorded call that you did not terminate the meeting that we had on the 21st of November. That's what you state in that recorded call, Sergeant. So what I'm on the phone about is, your police arrive at my door. We've got a diary appointment. Sergeant Faulkner phoned me up. Now, Sergeant Craig PIRIE has already taken allegations against Sergeant Faulkner to do with my disabled daughter recording him, refusing to take hate crime in Musselburgh Police Station. Him and Sergeant PC Pete, right, Sergeant Craig PIRIE was given the caller numbers, and it was explained quite clearly. So Sergeant Faulkner's been on the phone when my daughter Robin made a third-party hate crime report to Police Scotland against you and Sergeant Craig PIRIE, right? Hate crime. So that's a crime against myself, right? Police Scotland took that. The incident number is 133, but Sergeant Faulkner phoned me up, right, in a recorded call.
So you've made criminal allegation complaints against myself?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. And we've got an incident number for Police Scotland, right? 133. So what I'm stating is, your police arrived here on the 30th of March in force, right? Now they state that they've got a live warrant, right, for me, but they didn't care what it's about. They want me to give me details, but they call me Mr. Pritchard. They've been at my door, obviously, before. Police officers videoed and recorded. Now, they've not got that warrant. They didn't care what it's about, right? But they do tell me that I made contact with Police Scotland. So that would be correct. So your police, according to Sergeant Faulkner, when he phoned me up after speaking to Police Scotland, because your cops didn't arrive at 2:30 for that diary appointment, right, today with dangerous driver, Davy Bissett, right? So, right, so is that a police officer's duty if they're telling me that they're going to force entry to my family home, but they didn't care what the warrant is, right? So are they not meant to serve me a warrant? Because they're telling me that they're going to force entry to my property.
At that stage, Mr. Pritchard, and the reason that you would always ask to verify things against police systems, you know, when you come into contact with the person who's subject of that warrant, it's just so you can double check police systems at the, you know, like the last opportunity, just to make sure that is still live.
Right.
Because
okay.
I don't know, and I can't
right.
say,
All right.
I can't speak on behalf of the officers. You know, prior to coming to your door, when was the system like checked to see that was live? So,
right. Okay. Well, they tell me they've been videoed. Right. My partner, she's a witness to Davy Bissett. Right now, see, because I've spoken to you.
Can I just come in here, because I've discussed this before as well.
Right. Okay.
You talk about, was it you're saying that David Bissett's responsible for the death of George Thompson in a road traffic incident?
That's correct.
Right.
Well, no, it's a place of work.
Can I just explain, or just talk you through a wee bit here? I've spoke to you before about this. See any deaths in Scotland?
Yes.
The Prosecutor Fiscal are responsible, okay? They have oversight for investigating these deaths, okay? The police will carry out the investigations and they'll report all their findings to the Procurator Fiscal. It's up to the Procurator Fiscal. They'll assess, are they satisfied with the investigation that's taken place? Is there anything else that needs to be done or clarified? The police, they've done their investigation and it's been submitted to the Procurator Fiscal. I've not looked into it out, but if you've got issues with how that's been handled, I would recommend that you speak to the Procurator Fiscal.
No, I try to make that with yous. I try to make that with yous on the 21st of November 2018. You let me record that meeting and you terminated my meeting.
If the police have completed their investigation and brought it to the Procurator Fiscal,
Aye.
we're basically the SIOs for investigating such incidents.
Right, okay, that's...
So you could raise your concerns with them, Mr.
But excuse me, I have.
Well...
Right, now, I've seen my recorded calls with the Law Society. I've now got a complaint against the PF, right, and the solicitor that acted for George Thompson's family, right, because he criticised the HSE's investigation because they were meant to be the highest authority. Now, what Ronnie Conway, the Solicitor State Sergeant, is Davy Bissett shouldn't be believed, right, in his statement. That's what it states in the fatal death inquiry. So see, when we had a meeting today with that, I brought up today with a private prosecution that the farmer took out on me, where your cop stood up in a witness box. I had it in that bag. I've got it for 2002. Your police stand in a witness box in a sheriff court in Scotland, stating that Davy Bissett put the bucket up to the front of the windscreen at the height that he said it had it at, and your police officer stood in a witness box. I tell you in that recording meeting about that, right? And he states that police officer could see, right, when he jumped into the driver's seat. So see, when you're stating about the police doing an investigation, right, see my meeting with MSP Ian Gray, right, on my daughter's 16th birthday. Well, my daughter recorded that. That would be where Inspector Harbour and Sergeant Derek MacDonald and the head of the antisocial behaviour team, Kenny Black. Right, well, Inspector Harbour reads out a list of complaints. That would be today with guys using mobile phones while they're driving, videoing us while they're driving, no hands on the steering wheel, shouting and swearing at us. Right, but see, when I bring up the Scottish Government Law Sergeant, Kenny Black tells me that I'm correct, but the antisocial behaviour laws, section 126, 127 and Act 3 of the Road Traffic Act, Act 34 if it's in a field, he tells MSP Ian Gray that I'm correct. But see, today with closure notices, because I've got, this according to the Scottish Government, if there's a 3-month constant pattern, which your inspector read out, my disabled daughter recorded that in front of the MSP. Well, Ian Gray's trying to overtalk Kenny Black and myself because he doesn't want Kenny Black, the head of the antisocial behaviour team, to actually answer my questions, but Kenny Black does. And he states quite clearly, right, that I'm correct today with closure notices, but it belongs with the police. No, it doesn't, Sergeant. It belongs with Police Scotland and the council to apply to your chief constable to sign paperwork to close the farm down here. Because see, if there's speeding drivers and we're getting put off the road and your police have taken statements off of us, right, that's how your procedure works for Police Scotland, isn't it?
I don't know, I've never been past...
You have. You arrived at my door.
Aye. Before you jump in, can I please finish? I was going to say, I've been to your door, but I've not driven past it where you keep talking about where these lorries go round the bend.
Right, okay. Well, I asked you about it. You're on video, you and Sergeant Craig PIRIE. So what I'm stating to you is, you've explained your police procedure to Davy Bissett's killing George Thompson, right? He also... you've just explained that if any death or anything else, the police actually investigate that. So what I'm telling you is we're going back to all these drivers using mobile phones, videoing us with no hands on steering wheels, that your police officers have been videoed and voice recorded, Sergeant. So yet again, Police Scotland 101, right? Under the Police Public Order and Criminal Justice Scotland Act 2006, Section 34, right? Any police officer or acting police officer at the time, right, is taking a verbal statement, an electronic statement, or a written statement as an acting police officer. Is that the law, Sergeant? So see if your police have done all this and they've been videoed by myself and witnesses, right? Are they committing an offence?
As I've said to you before, right, if you've got complaints or issues at all, we don't discuss these matters over the phone.
How no? Well, excuse me.
Because you're circumventing the process yet again by phoning me direct when you know you should be doing this in writing.
But I'm dyslexic and I can't read and write, so you're breaching the Equality 2010 Act. So you excuse me, see the last call that I had with you?
See before you try and accuse me of anything, we know we've been there. You've got your advocacy support.
No, I've not. Fiona McDonald's retired. You know that.
We discussed the last time that you were going to approach them just to find out who was taking over from Fiona.
That's correct. I've done that.
Yeah,
I've done that. So I've been told to arrange a meeting with you. So see, the last time I spoke to you, you terminated my call when I phoned you back the second time, and I asked about trying to set up a meeting so I can get in and play all my video evidence.
You call me a liar.
That's correct. But if I've got the proof against you, Sergeant, that's it. Right, excuse me. Hang on there now.
That's your opinion.
I've got you recorded.
I don't see that. You can record me all you want. I don't actually have any issues with anyone recording me.
Okay.
Whether it's in person or over the phone, I really don't mind.
All right, let's get back to the first.
I don't see that as a threat that you're recording me that I should change the way
Right, okay.
It's certainly not.
Right, Sergeant, all right. Well, Sergeant, aye. Right, okay. So see when I recorded you on the 7th of December, you told me when I asked you, were you privy to that conversation that I had with Sergeant Craig PIRIE, right, on the 1st of October 2018, where Sergeant Craig PIRIE states about me to do with my reading and my learning difficulties. How do I know what my signed agreement is between the Inspector Michelle Ritchie and the Chief Constable of Scotland? Because I can't read. I found that extremely rude. Now see, when I came into the station, you were standing there. You had Susan Deacon for the Scottish Police Authority in your hand, you're on video. And you also heard Sergeant Craig PIRIE stating quite clearly when I stated that we had that conversation in the morning. He denied that. So that's what he done, wasn't it, Sergeant? He denied it.
He's on another telephone line. See, I'm not listening to
you.
See when Sergeant PIRIE was speaking to you,
aye.
I couldn't hear a word you were saying. So
right, okay.
I have not heard anything. There was nothing that jumped out to me.
Okay, well, he was slagging me off, so yous know, right, so see, because he's arranged for an appropriate adult and an advocate, and you let me record that because of my learning difficulties on the 21st of November, right, yous know I've got learning difficulties, so see Sergeant Craig PIRIE slagging me off about how do I ken if I can't read and about me being dyslexic and that, and I come into the station, you're standing right there beside him. And he states quite clearly, when about the signed agreement, he asked me again, and I state quite clearly, we had this conversation this morning, Sergeant, right, about my signed agreement. He denies it. So what I'm going to do? Aye.
I've not been aware of what you've been talking
right,
about.
okay, well, I asked you to get... excuse me.
I can't give definitive answers.
Right, okay.
All I was saying was offering my opinion that I had not heard anything toward.
Right, okay, so see Susan Deacon. Well, it states in that paperwork that you had in your hand, Sergeant, right, that any misconduct, right, or neglected duty will be thoroughly investigated. So see when Sergeant Craig PIRIE denied that he stated that he had that conversation with me, I asked several times for the duty inspector right? Now, see, my friend that was with me, he had that recording that I had with Sergeant Craig PIRIE, right? So see if he's slagging me off, and I've got learning disabilities, and he's a police officer, you have arranged for an appropriate adult, you have got me an advocate, you have let me record it, right, because he's a public board. Well, see that, I class it as a hate crime, right, by a police officer, because I'm no into people slagging me off that are meant to be professional, right? Under your policies, it states quite clearly that you're meant to treat me with dignity and respect, Sergeant. So see when he's slagging me off, see when he was shouting at me, doing the phone today with Cap's advocate about Fiona MacDonald in a state, well, no. See, because I was at my GP's with Fiona to get tested, to see about getting tested because of my learning disabilities, right? And obviously Fiona MacDonald spoke to him, and I've recorded that. And what she stated also was, we just got results through for the doctor at my GP's, right? And it states that I've got 2 prolapse discs, right? And the only way to solve my walking problems, right, that I'm in constant pain, lots of days I can't get up, right, is that I've got to have an operation. So Fiona MacDonald was there. She spoke to Sergeant Craig PIRIE, gave him all his details, all her details. But see, when Sergeant Craig PIRIE was shouting at me doing the phone in another recording, and I state, no, you spoke to Fiona MacDonald. He's shouting down the phone, bawling his head off, hangs the phone up on me, then he phones me back and he apologises, stating that I was correct. Well, I don't appreciate when police are meant to treat me with dignity and respect. So see your colleague shouting and bawling his head out, doing the phone to me. I didn't appreciate that. Right.
Well, I've never heard Sergeant PIRIE bawling and shouting at you.
Well, I have. I've got that recorded. Right, so... Right, well, I've now got my forms through PUP.
I mean, to me that would be like somebody screaming and shouting at you.
That's correct. That's correct. Oh, you better believe it was.
Yeah, but there's a difference for a raised voice. And, you know, because sometimes, Mr. Pritchard, we'll have this conversation, we all raise voices. Okay?
Right, so what are we doing about my criminal allegations? Right, I phoned up Police Scotland after Inspector Andy Hull came on the phone to me. Dangerous driver, Davy Bissett, also the other guy, right, he was charged with Garrett Hughes.
Can I just ask you before we go on all the different topics, where are we going with this? Because
well, I'm trying to get in to meet you.
If you want to make, well, I've got to tell you again, you have to do that in writing.
No, excuse me.
No, it's not a case of
no, we can just set up an appointment just now.
No, because you make your initial contact via letter as in accordance with your letter.
No, hang on, I've not got an advocate for CAPS anymore.
But, well, you're going to have to speak to them to find out who's replacing Fiona MacDonald.
No, I'm asking you for an appointment so I can come in. Are you refusing me?
I'm telling you to follow the...
You're telling me? No. Excuse me, you told me it was an agreement, but then you changed it to it wasn't an agreement that you have put in place.
Documented in that letter, and I'm not... I appreciate you recording these, right? I'm not going to go into an...
Right, okay, so... Right, okay. So what... Right, okay, excuse me then. Right, why did Police Scotland 101 state to me they were going to get me an appropriate adult? Now, I tell them about you and Sergeant...
Was that for a complaint or for an incident you were dealing with?
It was to do with incidents, obviously hate crime outside my house, right?
That's different to the complaints process.
Pardon?
That's different. If you
No. So see your police officers being videoed in my house, Sergeant. They turn round and tell me on video that they know that I've got learning difficulties. Can a manager, do you need to get an appropriate adult? Right, so Police Scotland tell me they were arranging for that, but see when Inspector Andy Hull came on the phone, my partner was there. My partner works for the council, and she found him disgusting and rude, and she wanted to speak to him because he was shouting and swearing at me. 2 minutes, 10 seconds, recorded call. Right, so that would be to Davy hate crime, be to Davy Bissett is a dangerous driver. The other driver, he was charged with the police meant to be allegedly for just about killing me with a telehandler. So see if George Thompson's been charged with been killed with a telehandler by Davy Bissett. Your cops have been recorded in my house, so this falls back to the Police Scotland Act, right, 2006, PC Garrett Hughes and another police officer. My daughter gives a statement, I give a statement, we've got CCTV evidence and we've got DVD evidence from my camcorder where I was just about crushed to death, Sergeant. And your police are recorded in my house telling me that driver can't see where he's gone, watching that evidence. So see, under the Police Public Order, Criminal Justice Scotland Act 2006, Section 34, well, we found out under your procedure, us as victims, not one of your police has kept us informed. See, under the Prosecutor Fiscal Code of Conduct as a victim, no contact. So we got all the prosecution numbers and we found out that nobody's been charged. So how would that be? Like the Biffa Waste driver, 2 hands on his phone, in front of his face, his mobile phone. Your cops were recorded in my house telling me I've got him bangs to rights because he's driving a vehicle with no hands on the steering wheel, PC Johnny Cassidy. But see, the driver, when asked the passenger, and he's extremely rude for the council. Right, and my daughter Robin is standing there beside me in the garden. Well, that driver is telling me, what the fuck? Excuse me, I'm going to tell you what that driver stated to me, and my daughter was a witness, right? Robin, 20-year-old. That driver stated, have you not got anything fucking better to do with your fucking time and record people? So, is it a driving offence then, Sergeant Reilly? If that driver for the council has got his phone stuffed in front of his face, 2 hands on it, the light's on in the back which states that he's videoing me and he's driving that waste service vehicle with no hands on the steering wheel. Is that dangerous driving, Sergeant? And the driver shouting and swearing. Your police never took a statement from my 20-year-old daughter, Robin, that driver was shouting and swearing at me as well. So your police have failed again. Would that be correct, Sergeant? Should your police officers being recorded in my house took a statement from my daughter Robin?
Put everything in writing and we can...
No, I'm asking you. See this?
You want to complain about?
Sergeant, I've got my form Sufi Park now. And see, because I'm stating that I'm phoning you and I'm trying to get in and you're refusing me. You're refusing me, right? Under the Equality 2010 Act, you have got to change your ways. You're a public board, right? Do you know this law? Under the Equality 2010 Act, Police Scotland have got to change their ways to deal with my learning disabilities. So what you doing? You're constantly telling me to put it in writing, even though you know that I'm not.
For a very good reason. And you have to
no, yeah, excuse me.
Process, okay?
Hey, your cop. Excuse me, Inspector Michelle Ritchie was videoed in my house and recorded, signing an agreement with the Chief Constable of Scotland. She was also recorded watching video evidence that your cops have got stuffed in their drawers in Trent Police Station. Aye.
You've got that letter which explains exactly how you should go about making a complaint. I've told you countless times.
But I can't read and write, so you're breaching the Equality 2010 Act.
We've explained that.
Are you going to make a diary appointment with me now?
I'm not making an appointment.
Why not?
Because I've got to comply with this process as well.
Right, okay, right.
My colleagues and professional standards.
Professional standards? You're having a joke. Inspector Michelle Ritchie watched video evidence in my house. She refused to watch any evidence. Every single police officer she asked me about in my criminal allegations, she refused. She refused to view it. She refused to watch it. She refused to view any recordings.
Put your complaints in writing.
Right, okay, Sergeant. So see, Sergeant. Okay. Did you meet a sergeant called Sergeant Dixon for your station, Dalkeith? Aye, Adrian Dixon.
He's retired.
Right, okay. Well, seeing my recorded call when I asked him what his role was, he told me that he was going to come in and he was going to watch any evidence of criminal allegations against your police. He was going to take any witness statements. He was going to watch any video evidence, any voice recordings, just like Inspector Michelle Ritchie done. So see, when I tell that, Sergeant, well, I'm making criminal allegations against Inspector Ritchie. So if Sergeant Adrian Dixon, who you know was the next investigating officer, so if he told me what his role was, well, that's my complaint.
There's a process to follow, okay? So I'm going to terminate the call now, but please follow that process. It's contained within the letter.
Right, okay. Right.
Okay?
Can I? No, Sergeant, I was just going to ask you about your police arriving at my door and arresting me. So now you've heard it all.